Hello and welcome to OverShadow ShadowCast with your host Thomas Anderson and no Abigail Moore. There's no Abigail this week. It's the last recording of 2019, although it goes up on the first day of 2020, but she's unable to make it, so you've just got me. That means it'll be quite a quick one. So first of all, what have I been playing? I have been playing a little bit of Empire Total War. I plan on doing some Empire Total War playthroughs at some point, so I thought I would have another go at it because I haven't actually played it since 2014, and it's been difficult because I know I'm really good, but I can't remember in what ways I'm very good. So it's difficult for me to... I go into battles thinking, right, everything will be okay, I just need to do this, that, and then I realise, no, wait, hold on. So basically I'm going in accidentally cocky. I'm trying to reassure myself that I know what I'm doing, but I can't remember when that's correct and when it's not. Other than that, the game's still a lot of fun. There's been some patches since it was originally released, which means that it's different from when I first started playing. So it's always fun to go back to that game because of that. So things like, if you go an island nation, you can't lose because originally the game had a bug in it which meant that other nations couldn't put armies on navies to invade you. I remember the first time I played it after the patch, and then suddenly I realised what was different and what was going on. France nearly destroyed me, but it always feels a wee bit fresh to replay that game because the first couple of playthroughs were completely different after they patched things like that. It's a lot more dynamic. I haven't actually been playing anything else, so I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I will be doing some playthroughs of that. And I've got some time coming up to play some more Subnautica and Horizon Zero Dawn, but that's what I've been playing at the moment. Went United Provinces. I've got another game going with Britain. Because it's my first game in 5 years, I'm making a lot of mistakes, but hopefully I'll still be able to win. World domination, obviously. So yeah, we'll just move on to the stories I want to talk about. Because without Abigail here, it doesn't bounce as well. So it seems like there may be a sequel in the works for Jedi Fallen Order. This comes from a set of job postings, which seems to be related to what you would need if you were making a sequel. That would be very, very good, because while that game released, it needed another few months to iron out some bugs that I've heard about that can really interfere with how much fun you have with it. I have heard from a couple of people who have played the game who say that if you don't have those bugs, it's amazing. So I heartily recommend getting that game. You might not play it for a couple of months just to make sure the bugs are ironed out, or you may wait a couple of months then get it and play it, but I heartily recommend that game. And it would be interesting for EA, because obviously they bought the company that's making this game, made the original one. Sorry. It'd be interesting for them to release another single player story, because it's clearly outdoing the massive multiplayer ones that they want to make, the ones that bring them in the billions. So that would be very, very interesting to see that happen. But it would be a welcome change from what they're currently doing. Well, other than Jedi Fallen Order, obviously. And it might lead to something really, really good, like a proper Battlefront game or a KOTOR game. Next story is not as good. Activision, Call of Duty Modern Warfare has done very well and made over $1 billion in revenue and broke all these sorts of release records for Modern Warfare, blah, 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 blah. Personally, I'm not surprised by that because of what they're harkening back to, but I'm not necessarily sure the game actually deserves that. I think a lot of this is for multiplayer stuff, not for how good the single player is. And I remember back when the single player Call of Duty games was really, really good. So I will play this game so I can see what it's like and definitely compare it to the previous ones I've played before, the previous Modern Warfare ones, but I'm not convinced at all that it's going to be any good for me, that I'm going to enjoy it. Or that it is actually any good. I don't trust Activision. And their money-grubbing ways mean that it's unlikely they gave the developers the freedom and time that they need to actually make a game that I would consider to be good for single-player purposes. But they have made over $1 billion, so that's what they wanted from the last one. They've got it this one. Well done. Merry Christmas, Activision. Next story. Bethesda. So we've got 2 Bethesda stories here. One is really good. Well, one is good-ish. One is possibly, and one is bad. So we'll start with the Fallout 76 story, and you'll be surprised, obviously, to learn that's the bad story. So, I've just got a wee bit of a blurb to read out here that I wrote down. Hackers, for Fallout 76, are now able to drop in whenever they want and steal players' entire inventories. Can be done from over 200 feet, about 200 feet away, I think it was. That's the limit, so it's just under 200 feet. And they don't need to be able to see the player that they're stealing from. This is possible because players in the hack get treated like containers. But obviously this can kill your game stone dead because they can also take things like the Pip-Boy. Now they don't take quest items, but things like the Pip-Boy, at least from what my memory serves of Fallout games, if you don't have that, the game's not going to work properly. Players have admitted to being too scared to play the game while this is happening, because you could have hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of hours invested, and then they just take all of it. Because it is a looter game. Players have discussed this on forums, and there are 2 ways to perform this full theft hack. One is to initiate a trade with a player, and then that, if you drop a certain thing, that allows you to steal everything and put it into that bag, which you then take. I think it's along those lines. There's a trade has to be initiated, and then a bag is dropped, and that causes a hack, or starts the hack, as it were. There's also another one where they basically just hack you when you don't even know it's happened. Everything just disappears. Well, you know it's happened once everything disappears, but you don't know it's happening at the time. Now, this is where it gets a bit tricky. Included in the hack are atomic shop items. So they can drop in and steal your atomic shop items, but those are paid for. Unlike the game where you're paying for access to that software, to that service, as it were, even though you own it. You own the rights to play it. You don't own the actual coding of the game. When you pay for an atomic shop item, that's yours. You have specifically bought that. The game itself can't take it away from you either. So if they pop in and take it from you, that's theft. So I've heard of some people talking about like electronic fraud or something like that, but it just looks like theft to me. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Now, it's over the Christmas holidays, and this story was from about 10 days ago or 12 days ago, something like that, if not more. So they may have done something about it by now, but I haven't heard that they have, and I would wait. This hack might be limited to the adventure mode that was just added, or it might have been that adventure mode caused it, but I would really wait until this is completely resolved before playing the game if you're really into it, because they will just take everything from you and then it's pointless. The game, you'll stop playing because that will crush you too much. So I would just wait. And if you're wanting to buy the game to get into it, I don't know why you would in the first place, but I don't know. If you want empty servers, this might be the time to go. But other than that, I would just wait as well. So our last story, Bethesda again, but this is a kind of good story. So Starfield is apparently out of pre-production. That's what's been said by Bethesda. When this is combined with the lack of information on the next console generation, so that's something that's been spoken about quite a lot, is that there's not a lot of information being given to the actual game developers. That would suggest that Starfield is either going to be released before the next console generation, so this year, or it's going to be released a couple of years or 2 or 3 years in, so like 2022, 2023. So that would obviously be bad news if it's released this year, because it's only had 2 or 3 years of development. It's not likely to be ready at all. But it'd be really, really good news if it means they're going to wait till 2022, 2023, because that would give it more like 5 or 6. And that's what I think they really need to do now, Bethesda, is take their time with their games, because as a massive company that they are, they have that option to take some time. They don't need to rush things out, and it hasn't worked for them. They've become a laughing stock. They went from being like so highly rated by people that people would forgive them so many bugs in their games. It was like Fallout 4 was when people actually started to talk and say, well, hold on, is this number of bugs actually okay? And you'd have this conversation with people about whether or not it was. But that's when it had come up. it would, after years and years and years, that's the first time it really came up. And the biggest problem with Fallout 4 was the fact that it was just the same as the previous Fallout, so there was no real change. And that's what combined with the bugs, that's where it came from. Now they've made a game so bad that they're just a laughing stock, and I think they have to learn that people can forgive them stuff, forgive them bugs, and give them time if they take the time and put in the effort. Whereas at the minute they're not. They're just producing laughingstock games, or in the case of Fallout 4, really a mimic of two previous Fallout games, New Vegas and 3. So hopefully they've learned from that, because if they do, people will give them the time they need and the space they need, and forgive them some bugs for a massive adventure. So they need to just know that they have to do that. And I would have to say, I said this as well with Anthem. If it's out before 2022, I don't think it's going to be any good. I'll say that about Starfield as well, because I don't think it would be 3, maybe 4 years of development is enough for a game of Starfield's scope. I think with Bethesda they need longer, and I would expect to see 2022, 2023. More like 6 or 7. I can't see it coming out before that. Well, 5, 6 or 7. Because apparently it's been in development for 2.5 to 3, so it needs that amount of time. I don't think it'll be any good if they release it in 2020. So I expect 2022/3. And I think that's where I would say whether or not this is a good piece of news or a bad piece of news is when eventually we find out when we learn more about Starfield, because we will this year. Whether or not it's a release this year or just more information, that'll dictate whether or not it's as good news or bad news. Anyway, that's everything I have to talk about today. That's all there's what to talk about. That's what I've been playing. Next week I'm by myself again. Because of university and stuff like that, it's been very difficult to actually organise when we can record. So it might just be me or Abigail for a little, for the next few weeks. Hopefully we can find some time to record with each other, because that's better. But at the moment we're not entirely sure what we're doing. But obviously there will be one of us. Probably will just be me, if it's one of us. But hopefully we can find some time for the two of us, because like I said earlier on, it's a wee bit better when there's two people talking against each other. We try to have a conversation about something rather than simply relay the information, so it's obviously easier with more than one person. Or I have to go a wee bit mental and start talking to myself like I don't know what's actually happening. So I hope you enjoyed this. You can leave a comment underneath. You can email us at overshadow@shadowcast@gmail.com. There's a Facebook page, but we'll forget that just now because we'll focus more on that when we've actually got videos. And we hope you had a very Merry Christmas and you have a good New Year. And Hogmanay was good to you as well. You had fun. And we'll see you next week. Like and subscribe and click that notification bell. And I'll see you. Bye bye.